Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday.
India delivers HAL 228 aircraft as part of line of credit to Guyana. The Hindustan Aeronautical Limited has delivered two Dornier 228 planes to the Guyana Defence Force. In a social media post, President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, said the planes arrived at Chedi Jagan International Airport last evening aboard two Boeing C-17 Globemaster military transport planes. These would help in connecting remote areas, medical evacuation, and disaster response. This development comes more than a year after Guyanese president visited HAL facility in India. India's defense exports hit a record high of 21,083 crores in the physical, which is 32.5% more than the last physical, as per the government release. This means that the defense exports grew by 31 times in last 10 years. It stated. Union Defense Minister Rajnath Singh reacted to this, saying that defense exports have scaled to an unprecedented heights. The Democratic Republic of Congo appointed Judith Suminwa Tuluka as the Africa's nation's first woman prime minister. President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of Congo made the appointment. He fulfilled a campaign promise and took an important step towards the formation of a new government after being re-elected last year. The authorities face a raft of challenges, including worsening conflict and humanitarian crisis in the eastern regions and the management of Congo's considerable mineral wealth. In his first term, Mr. Tshisekedi has assured to root out endemic corruption, rebuild the economy, tackle deep inequalities, and curb the eastern insecurities. The Israeli parliament has approved a law giving powers to the government to ban the broadcast of TV channels, including Qatari-owned network Al Jazeera. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he would act immediately to close the Al Jazeera network's local office. The foreign journalists are banned from entering Gaza, and the Al Jazeera staff based the Strip have been some of the only reporters covering the war on the ground. The Knesset, Israel's parliament, approved the bill allowing the foreign networks considered as a threat to national security to be temporarily banned. The ban would be in place for a period of 45 days at a time, which could be renewed. The law would stay in force until July or until the end of significant fighting in Gaza. Kachativu, a small uninhabited island in the middle of India and Sri Lanka, is making headlines again after Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched an attack against the Congress party for carelessly giving away it to Sri Lanka in 1974. It is reported that Prime Minister of India Jawaharlal Nehru gave up the claim on this island issue to Sri Lanka. Kachativu, a tiny uninhabited island spanning 285 acres in the Park Strait between India and Sri Lanka, is spread over 1.6 kilometers in length and slightly over 300 meters wide at its widest point. What is South Korea's artificial sun that has set a record of 100 million degrees centigrade? South Korea's superconducting tokamak advanced research K-STAR device, referred to as artificial sun nuclear fusion reactor, has produced a heat of temperature 100 million degrees centigrade for a record 48 seconds. This temperature is 7 times that of sun's core. The device replicates the reaction of fusion taking place on the sun and unleashes a massive amount of heat energy. Agni Prime missile has been successfully test fired in Odisha on the 3rd April. The flight test was conducted by Strategic Forces Command (SFC) along with Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Islands off the coast of Odisha. According to the Defense Ministry, new generation ballistic missile Agni Prime met all the trial objectives, validating its reliable performance. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh has congratulated DRDO, SFC, and the armed forces for the successful test. He said that the successful development and induction of the missiles will be an excellent force multiplier for the armed forces. Israeli Security Cabinet has approved the reopening of Erez crossing to allow the flow of more humanitarian aid into Gaza. Erez crossing, also known as Beit Hanon, is a border crossing between Israel and the northern Gaza Strip. It is being reopened for the first time since the terror attack by the Palestinian group Hamas on the 7th of October last year. Israel's move comes after US President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had conversation on the phone as they discussed the situation in Gaza. The United Nations welcomed the reopening of Erez crossing. What is Ring of Fire behind Taiwan's strong earthquake? Taiwan's 7.4 magnitude earthquake was the strongest in the 25 years. Taiwan sits on Ring of Fire, a horse-shaped zone around the Pacific Ocean, which is the world's most seismically and volcanically active zone, according to USGS. The nearly 40,000 kilometer arc extends through the New Zealand, Japan, and off the west coast of mainland Asia, around down the west coast of the Americas. Who was Mohammad Raza Zaidi, Iranian general killed by Israel? Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zaidi, who was killed by Israeli in Syria, was a senior commander in the Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC. Zahidi joined the IRGC when he was 19 and rose through the ranks. Zahidi led operations in Syria and Lebanon and was one of the top figures facilitating Iran's support for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's government. UAE suspends diplomatic ties with Israel. The United Arab Emirates has suspended all diplomatic coordination with Israel following the tragic death of 7 humanitarian workers in Gaza. This decision has sparked crisis between the two nations, with Emirati Foreign Minister expressing outrage on the incident. Meanwhile, Iran has asked US to step aside as the country prepares to a response to a suspected Israeli attack on its consulate in Syria. Iranian President's Deputy Chief and Staff of Political Affairs Mohammad Jamshidi warned the US not to get dragged into Netanyahu's trap. Jamshidi stated that the US should step aside so that it doesn't get hurt. Meanwhile, Israelis have cancelled all the leave and switched off the GPS over Israel about the impending Iranian attack. And now for the segment where we see the events that unfolded itself this week back in history. 1st April 1999, creation of Nunavut. Created this day in 1999 by carving a vast region from Canada's Northwest Territories, the Canadian territory of Nunavut stretches across much of the Canadian Arctic and encompasses the traditional land of the Inuit. 2nd April 2005, death of Pope John Paul II, Bishop of Rome and head of Roman Catholic Church from 1978. Pope John Paul II, who was the first non-Italian pope in 455 years and the first from Slavic country, died in Vatican City this day in 2005. 3rd April 1948, implementation of the Marshall Plan. On this day in 1948, US President Harry S. Truman signed into law George C. Marshall's post-World War II plan to revive the economies of Western and South European countries so as to foster democracy in the region. 4th April 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated. On this day in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr., a leader of the American civil rights movement who was in Memphis, Tennessee, to support a strike by the city's sanitation worker, was assassinated by James Earl Ray. 5th April 1818, Battle of Maipu. Chile's independence movement, led by Jose de San Martin and Bernard O'Higgins, won a decisive victory over Spain in the Battle of Maipu, which left 2,000 Spaniards and 1,000 Chilean patriots dead on this day in 1818. 6th April 1896, Olympics revived. Pierre Branon de Coubertin, a founder of the International Olympic Committee and its president from 1896 to 1925, released his goal of reviving the Olympics when the first modern games opened in Athens this day in 1896. 7th April 1963, Jack Nicklaus' first Master victory. American professional golfer Jack Nicklaus, a dominating figure in the world golf from 1960s to 1980s and the winner of 73 PGA Tour events in his career, won the Masters tournament at the age of 23 on this day in 1963.
Well, that's all, friends, for this week's updates. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Till then, take care. Bye bye.